Thank you, Rachel, so much for just chatting with me today about your experience with the Mentorship Lab. And before we dive in and just talk about your experience, I would love for you to just share who you are, what you do, and what you're building, and just so people can get to know a little bit more about you and your amazingness that I love so much about the work that you put out in the world.
Awesome. Okay. So I'm a brand and website designer, focusing a lot on strategy and the big picture. And I really set out kind of to take a bigger step and become a leader in my field. So I've been taking a deep dive into that journey, and it's been awesome. And that's kind of why I wanted to dive in with Jadah.
I love it. And then just, you're like being so humble, but you've designed some really big, like thought leaders, world changers in the world. Just the brand experience and just making every person's digital home just so unique. And you even did my own personal branded site, which I love. And I'm like, I'm ready for my next evolution and expansion with you. But yeah, you do amazing work just making people's, like, the essence of who they are on the inside, like, shine on the outside digitally. And you really allow people to like put their stake in the ground of like who they are and what they stand for, and really creating that brand picture and visual story for everyone to just fall in love with their brand. So
exactly. I love diving into the visual story and like learning everything I can about the person and bringing that into their brand. It's like my favorite part.
Well, you're really, really good at it. And I know we've known each other for a few years. Like, we met at a retreat, and then I worked with you to design my personal brand site, and we've just collaborated on different projects and things. And I know when we were first talking about you joining the Mentorship Lab, there were just like some struggles and challenges and roadblocks that were in your way. So I'd love for you to just kind of talk about like what that was like before diving into working with me.
Sure. Before working with Jadah, I actually never like invested in my business in this way before. So I had a lot of boundaries and like holy freak out moments where I really, wasn't sure if I could go through with it. I think, one thing that was different from this experience than another is that I just kind of knew how much I like felt connected to Jadah, and like I love what she puts out in the world, and that for me was like a hell yes, in comparison to anything else. So I knew that was kind of my true voice inside being like, yes, you have to do this. Whereas like in the past, I was so nervous and maybe like not comfortable with the other people that I was maybe looking into their programs for.
Awesome. And for you, what was kind of happening in your business, your life, before we really started diving in, working consistently together?
I was having major overwhelm personal life, overwhelm kind of business life, and figuring out how to make the right decisions and kind of actually handle things without feeling like, my boyfriend was my like business coach, like my family members, my friends. I was like talking to everybody in the world about my business, and not everybody is helpful and wants to hear that. So I needed to really like take a step back and see kind of the issues and really dive into them. And that's how I knew that I needed kind of help or support was that I just like I really knew that I needed support like in so many big ways.
That's awesome. And I know, we've talked a lot about like the mindset things, and just curious what your limiting beliefs or stories that you were making up before we started working together. And then we'll dive into like the aftermath of that.
Yeah, I think I had like a ceiling or a limit put on my success, like what was possible. And I thought like, well, I've done this already, or I've hit these marks, like what's next, or how can I go further? And like, even I think on our initial call together, you helped me realize like, hey, there's more. So I
A
think
lot
that
more.
a lot more, way a lot more, like more than you could think of. But it's, I think that was one thing. And then another thing was just like knowing that not knowing kind of who really needs what I put out in the world, or like understanding how much other people can benefit from what I put out in the world. And like, I think I had a lot of misbeliefs in that area. So
Yeah, totally. Awesome. And so once we started working together, and this could be during the retreat, during our one-on-one calls, group calls, what were some of the results, or as you know, we like to celebrate our wins on each call that we have, or when we meet face to face, what would be some of those wins and results that you experienced by being a part of the mentorship lab?
Well, I was able, kind of quickly, I feel like I started being able to really make some decisions on my own. It was like I needed the first few calls to kind of get me going. And then it was like, boom, all of a sudden, like I was capable of making decisions on my own, like, and also feeling like less overwhelmed, which I think is a big part of making decisions. When you have so many thoughts in your head, like who can make a great decision. So, Jadah has taught me lots of tools so I can kind of work through those overwhelm moments and be able to kind of conquer.
Mm-hmm.
I also think, like just knowing the next actions, that was always a big thing for me. Like if I know the next actions, I can take them. So having that support has been huge. And now I'm able to kind of help myself figure out what the next actions are. So I'm very excited about that.
And also, I know like you being able to like say bigger numbers to like dream clients, not just like whoever. Would you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. When I first started, in the mastermind, I was, sending numbers that were fairly kind of a lot lower than I think what I worth or my value was. And now think I've doubled some of those numbers just in terms of being able to really claim kind of the time and effort and value that I put into things. So that feels really good as well. Just knowing that I am supported, not only me just thinking it's my worth, like everybody in the mastermind was like, you need to definitely raise those.
Yeah.
So it feels really good to kind of like, I feel like I don't need someone to tell me that now. Like I'm confident enough to know that this is what I should be charging and what I am worth.
Yeah. And I think a big like conversation around that piece that we talked about was also when you feel drained doing a project, right? And it's like because you're not getting paid enough for all the hours that you're putting behind the scenes, like people are just thinking, oh, it's just this price. But no matter what, energetically, if you feel like it's not an even exchange, you have to increase it to feel right. And I don't always tell people to increase their prices. Even with my own products, I've decreased prices because it's like energetically, this feels like the right value exchange. So I'm not always about like charge $1 trillion, but it like energetically has to feel good for you to serve your clients and then for them to feel like they're receiving that value as well. And so that's where we were trying to get to that like aligned place where you're not like, oh, like I charge this much and I'm like, it doesn't feel worth it. It's like, it has to be worth it for you. And so I love that you were able to just like fully own that and like play and test. And like, I sent this offer out and they said yes. And also sending offers out and people saying no and realizing that that's not a right fit either, because if you went lower, you actually wouldn't enjoy that project or that partnership because they're not really valuing what you feel it's worth.
And actually, I've gotten a lot more no's. And, at first you would think I'd be kind of upset about that, like, but I'm happy because it means that I'm kind of making room for the people I'm really meant to work with. And as opposed to kind of being in the other mindset where it's like, they're here, let's work with them. Yeah. And I'm so happy that I've kind of moved out of that because it just feels seriously more aligned with what I
also, oh, sorry, it's like, say that again, sorry.
Oh no, I think it just cut out for
Oh
a
yeah,
second.
yeah. I know. Like, internet connection unstable. Another thing that I'm super proud of you is actually you designed and packaged so many other people's products, digital products online, but you also were able to put your first product together, like design your own work in the world. Will you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So I've been kind of trying and thinking and brewing in my own head how I can serve more people. And I think that's kind of where I started off at the retreat. It was like, I want to serve more people. And then I had already started to dig into that a bit. And now I'm about to put out my first ebook or e-guide, I guess you could call it. And it's going to be for kind of the beginners, people that need a place to start when it comes to branding and website design. And I'm really excited to kind of just be able to reach more people.
Yeah. And you're also starting, like, that's giving you more confidence to also step into that thought leadership role. And I think, have you done your second podcast now or second?
I think I've done my second kind of interview on branding, and it's really, really exciting to kind of feel and step into that zone where people are asking me and I get to kind of share what I know, and I think I'm going to be doing more of that. So
I just would love every time you would text me or send me an email and just like, that felt so good. Like, because you would be like hesitant or shy to like put yourself out there. And then as soon as you show up on those calls, you just rock it and you like remember how much you know and how much you can help more people, and just different ways that you can use your gifts and talents. So I'm just like super proud of you and celebrating you for that. And I know you shared just learning different tools or strategies with us working together, whether it was from the retreat or just us working together one-on-one. Is there anything that you could share that you've kind of like implemented and applied in your life that you've kind of like taken with you, like, oh yes, this has totally like helped me?
Yeah, I think definitely also on the personal, well, it's personal and business, but like starting to journal and coming up with some morning and night rituals to kind of help me with goal setting and visualization. I think those are tools that I'm going to be continuously implementing forever. It really has made a difference, just me being grateful, me seeing what I have, seeing what I want, and kind of seeing the big picture. And I think, we did a lot of that on the retreat, and I got to see it in like the biggest way. And then I got to also see how the other people in the group, create their visions, and then just having people to share it with it's so empowering and exciting. So that part of the process, and, this whole mastermind has been kind of just this big unveiling of like, ooh, this is so exciting. I get to kind of, dive into other people's thoughts around these things as well. So
I love that.
I really enjoyed that.
And I know there's some people that might be considering, if they want to be a part of this type of experience and working with me. What would you say to them if they had any hesitations, or could just help them have a full body yes or a full body no? Like what would you say to them?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, at first it could be scary to be this intimate with, a group of women or, group of business people in general. And I think that, just knowing that Jadah is selecting these people and choosing, the right kind of vibe for everybody, just knowing that everybody's there to support each other. It's not going to be, as scary as it seems at first. So I think that just knowing what you want to achieve, and also knowing that everybody in the group's going to be kind of looking out for you throughout this experience it's really kind of welcoming.
And I know, very much like me, you're an introvert. And so I'd love for you to talk a little bit about your hesitations, even just coming to a retreat with like people that you don't know really well. And then kind of the aftermath of like, oh, I just would love to hear that. Cause I know there's a lot of introverts in the world of like, wait, I have to like be in a room with people and share my
Yeah,
like darkest secrets and my visions.
It's super scary, I guess, at first, just to know like, oh, these people don't even know me. Not sure I want to share this stuff with them, or like, maybe you haven't told anybody the thoughts that you've been thinking for your business, or even in your head. So it can be really frightening to just get it out there. But I think, again, like, you make people feel so comfortable that it doesn't feel that way, even when you're in this small group. And yeah, I mean, like, sharing rooms and, that whole, I don't know, like, kind of, it's like camp. You have to like live with people, or like, I think, I just kind of always been a little bit nervous about things like that. But then again, once you get there and you're like, this is like being in a spa with amazing women and just enjoying and diving deep, like, it's amazing. So
awesome. And I know you talked a little bit about like the investment piece. So for someone who's kind of like the not having invested in their business before, or not sure if this is the right thing for them, what was kind of going through your head in that process, and how did you actually for yourself just like move through that and make that commitment to invest in yourself and your business and your dreams?
I think, for me, it was great because I was able to see kind of not even like what I charge clients, but like just to know that I'm making a similar investment, or I'm kind of stepping into that zone. And if I'm asking people to invest in me, like, I want to be investing in other people. So I think there was that piece for me. And then the other piece was just kind of making a plan. Because if you're worried about money, like, the best advice I can give you is just to have a plan and know what you're doing. So that way, it's not like, oh crap, I'm going to owe all this money. It's like, I know that I owe this right now, but I'm going to be making this then. And then it just pays itself back in all different ways. So I think it's all about how you kind of perceive it. But for me, it was those things combined.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. Do you have anything else that you would like to share in your experience? Just like anything that's just kind of like, oh, I want to make sure that I share this piece.
I think that it would be good for everybody and anyone to know, just like, that is part of this, is that if there is anything, whether it's like personal, business, kind of something that you're struggling with, that like, there's people that can support you. And like, in this mastermind, you get that. It's like, whether it's from the other girls or Jadah, or, like, it's just really nice to know that you have that type of support. And like, it's not like anytime you want, but it's there's boundaries, obviously, but it's in a very good and healthy way, and you have that support when you have like a freak out moment, that somebody's going to be able to help you, or just at least like ask you a question to guide your mind in the right place.
And how is, I know, because we had some freak out moments together, and I'd love for you to just share like, about just the access with me, or being able to have that support, like what that felt like for you. And
for me, like, it's priceless, because I'm, again, like, sometimes looking for like that next action step. And like, when I have something right in front of me, I want to like make the action kind of quickly. So, it's awesome because Jadah was always able to just kind of be there for me in those moments. Like, if I had like to respond to a new possible big client that I didn't know what to do or say or what to propose, like, there was always like support around stuff like that. And it was super helpful for me.
awesome. Cool. Well, thank you, Rachel. I like love you to pieces, and love that we've just been in each other's worlds for like almost like since the beginning of our evolutions and our businesses and our brands. And to me, I feel like you're just beginning a whole new expansive chapter, and like what you're creating and putting out into the world. And I'm so happy to witness it, and just to be a part of that journey for you, and to know that you always have like a cheerleader, just a supporter in your corner for whatever you're making. I just believe in you so much, and I'm just thankful to call you a friend and to be able to have guided you
Thank you
for
so
that
much.
time. Yeah. So I love you. I love you. And thank you for taking the time to just share your experience
Thank
with
you. I'm so happy to share.
us.